starting to live your life, and you're hearing about Lex Luger, with Elizabeth ODing, Chris Benoit taking the lives of his family, Chris Cannon suicide, Ashley
Mhm.
Massaro suicide. How does that
Test,
play? How does that
overdose,
test? Yeah, how does
Among
that
Us,
play with?
overdose.
How does that play with your psyche?
That was all. That all went into my decision to stop wrestling. All that, even like the movie with Mickey Rourke, the wrestler. I didn't want to be Mickey Rourke at 50 because I'm 48 now. I don't want to be 50 years old, no relationships with your family, always on the road, still trying to make it. I saw that and I got really. I watched it at the theater and I was like, wow, I
Done.
don't want to be that guy. So then,
Well,
you add that to all
I
my
got,
buddies dying.
I got to ask a question though. So you did enjoy the wrestler, the movie itself,
I,
right?
I I thought it was a great movie, but it also
well,
really,
But
really
was the one scene
struck a
that you
nerve.
hated? Was the one scene that you hated was the guy standing taking a picture with Mickey Rourke, the fan, when Mickey Rourke is signing?
Well, yeah, showed up an autograph session. There was
Yeah.
no one there. I was like, and I've seen that before, and I was like, and then like he's working as at a grocery store, and then in the like
oh,
it was so depressing. I just like I did not want to be that guy.
Wow.
So that was I thank you,
great
Mickey
movie
Rourke,
though.
for making that movie because it helped my decision. And plus,
Hey,
all
can
my
I ask?
buddies dying. Like I spoke with Umunga 2 weeks before he passed away. He called me up. He was slurring his words. I was like, you're telling me you're off the somas, but I can hear it in your voice. And he's like, no, I promise you, I'm not doing any. I was like, Eddie, you're slurring your words. Like I can hear it. I had the same conversation with Tess too before he died. I was like, Drew, I called him Drew. He was like, you're slurring your words. I could hear it. I could see the downward spiral. And speaking of Chris Benoit, I used to travel with him a lot. I would watch his matches. I would watch like the little things that he would do, like when he would shoot someone off. He wouldn't just shoot them off. He would drop and put his weight. Like he would drop, put his weight and shoot them off. Or when someone's trying to grab him, like everything was a fight with him. Like I watched his matches because I respected him so much because he was one of the as far as like watching a wrestling match, he was one of my favorites to watch just because of the little things that he did. Not necessarily that I could do any of the things that he would do, but I tried to soak in whatever he could. And then when I found out what happened, it was crazy to me because I used to do squats and stuff in the locker room with his son. His son would come back there and we were just doing air squats together. And then Eddie Guerrero.
Oh yeah.
And then another thing that leaked on the dirt. You remember the dirt sheets back in the day? So I had a doctor, Dr. Wilbert in Scottsdale, and Mark Coleman was going there. I would be sitting in the office waiting to go see Dr. Mark Coleman would be there, and all the boys needed some pain pills. They needed a doctor, and this doctor was a doc in the box. And we would just sign a name, would go in, and he would give me hundreds. I'd have bottles this big of Percocets, Vicodin, Somas, and I hooked like every time the boys would come into town. I'm not saying any names, but they would all go see Dr. Wilbur, and I connected them with Dr. Wilbur. And then when Eddie Guerrero died, then Chris Benoit died. My name leaked on the dirt sheets that somehow, because I hooked him up with a doctor, that this is all insider stuff that a lot of people don't know. I mean, I even met the DEA came and met at my house, and I had to go meet with the DEA asking about Dr. Wilbur. And I met with him, and they were like, there's nothing, we're not going after you. We're not going after any of the boys. We just want to know your relationship with Dr. Wilbur. And I told him everything. But back then, that's kind of like when I got released, was after all that shit happened with Eddie.
Not to cut you off, but so at some point, no one blamed Chris Benoit for what he did. They were blaming you for getting him the drugs.
No, it wasn't blaming me. It's just everything that was going on at that time with pain pills and Chris killing himself and his family and Eddie Guerrero dying and then my name leaking, like they just wanted to, wipe their hands clean of everything.
Right.
So I was kind of collateral damage, but they weren't blaming me for CTE is what I think CTE is what happened to Chris Benoit. His brain was damaged.
Well, so I want to ask you, when Chuck was here, I asked, we asked a couple of guys that have been around Benoit, and Chuck was very candid in saying he was very weary of Chris, even back then. He made him feel very uncomfortable. How did he make you feel?
He was. I just thought he was just an awkward person. I just thought that that's just how he was. I didn't really. He was kind of a quiet person, but he also, like, if you tried to talk to him, and like, he would really sit down and talk with you and like give you advice, but you had to like. But he was kind of an awkward person for sure, and I could see why Chuck would say that. Absolutely, he was different, but I mean, he was great. Like to be where at the level he was at, with all the things that he did in Japan. I mean, he was, you know, I didn't really know about CTE then either. I didn't know about concussions. I get a concussion, I go back out and wrestle. Like it didn't matter to me. But I didn't, now knowing what I know now, I can see why that, because a lot of football players, commit suicide or they kill people over CTE. But yeah, I can see why Chuck would think that he was weird because of just the way that Chris Benoit was. Eddie Guerrero is the complete opposite. Like he was always happy, positive. But Chris Benoit would show up at my room at night, 1 a.m. He couldn't sleep and he would want some Xanax. And he was popping, before everything that happened, he was popping Xanax like crazy, like candy. So, I mean, I've seen the downward spiral of pills, and I just quit cold turkey. Like I just stopped. Like probably when I was 28, I just stopped taking. I was taking 20 pills a day, and I just stopped taking it. And you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to wean yourself off.
Right.
And I went through like 2 weeks of this. It was terrible. But then I haven't taken. What now? If I take a pain pill, it's if I'm like I tore my tricep. So obviously, when I had surgery, I took some pain. But even then, though, it made me feel like really shitty because it would bring that feeling back of being addicted to pain pills. So now I'll take an Advil every once in a while, but that's about it.
Do you think that when an athlete is as great as a Chris Benoit or an O.J. Simpson, and they do something as horrible as they did, whatever the reason is, do you think they should be wiped away from the annals of history, or do you think that
No.
the art and the person should be separated?
I think the art and the person should be separated. I mean, I think that I got my own conspiracy theories about O.J. Simpson. I think his son did it, but and he's protecting his son. But I think Chris Benoit was sick, and when people are sick, you should be able to separate the art from his sickness and celebrate what he did for wrestling, and keep the disgusting side of it away from that. And they completely removed him from all WWE. Like they completely, and the dude was he was Picasso in the ring. Like every match, didn't matter who he was wrestling, you're going to have an awesome match with him. So
are you able to still watch his matches?
Yeah, I could. Yeah, okay. I could still. Yeah.
Okay, what would you
say? I knew,
Johnny. I'm sorry. What would you say to the conspiracy theorists out there who swear up and down that Chris didn't do this, that use CTE as a trampoline / excuse for what happened that night, and come up with conspiracy theories? What's your thoughts on?
Well, if I could add on to that, Jimmy, there's also conspiracy theories that Vince McMahon had him murdered, and even as ridiculous as Kevin Sullivan had him murdered.
Yeah, I've heard all that. I just think it's CTE went crazy. I think that his wife cheated on him. He found out about it. He killed her by accident, realized what he did. His son had Fragile X syndrome, had a condition. He didn't want someone else raising his kid. So in his demented mind at the time, he thought, I think he gave his son some Xanax. He passed out, and then he choked his son out and killed his son. That's from what I understood that happened. And I just think that he was sick. I don't think there's any other conspiracy theories that support other than him being sick and going crazy after he found out his wife cheated on him.
There it is.
What
There
death hurt you the most?
Shit. So I was close with Umaga. We went to wrestling camp together. Love that dude. We were in Japan, wrestled him 1,000 times. He was good. He was good to me. Eddie Guerrero was Andrew Test. I would say probably Eddie Fatu, Umaga, because we were just so close. Probably really was the hardest out of all of them.
Couple things I want to cover, Jimmy.
Yeah.
500 level has now improved on the M&P code. Now go to MP30 for 30% off. Jimmy, I got to tell you something, right? I was at the beach again, 500 level. If you guys haven't looked at the shirts, right, go to the website. It's incredible. And I got to be honest, right? So it was a little chilly today. I brought the dogs to the beach. I was off work for the Jewish holidays,
today.
right?
It's cold.
It was cold,
Yeah.
but I have from 500 level, I have a Roman Reigns sweatshirt. Now, usually sweatshirts are not always the nicest fabric, unless I'm into really nice fabric because I just don't like things up against my skin. So usually I'll get thinner type of shirts, but this is a heavy sweatshirt. The fabric, unbelievable. And you're going to get a deal at 30% off, Jimmy. I mean, my God, it's a no-brainer, guys. I am telling you, once you get one shirt from them, you'll get 50. I guarantee it. And they've got all the sports. Yeah, dude, tell me what you think of it, Jimmy.
They're so comfortable. I got to get a long sleeve now. I'm telling you, I got to, because it was chilly today, especially for a guy who's been in Panama City Beach the last 2 years. It was chilly today, and I love the material. It's so silky. Is that the right word for it? I don't know.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, dude.
It's so comfortable. So, yeah, I got to get myself some leveled long sleeves. That's for sure. 30%.
And again,
off,
it doesn't, they got plenty of wrestling stuff. They got baseball stuff. They've got football. They got everything, dude. MMA. They got it all, man. And I'm telling you, it's very high quality. Again, 500 level code MP30, 30% off. So if a T-shirt costs you $20, what's 30% off on $20, dude?
It's enough. 10 plus another 20% tacked on top. Not much. It's a steal. It's a steal.
I agree. I want to remind everybody too, the Monte and the Pharaoh show, hit the QR code, be willing to check out our shows on YouTube, where we got almost 24,000 subscribers. Go to our Facebook page where we're approaching 27,000 subscribers. And again, if you feel like donating to the show, please go to the Monte and the Pharaoh webpage, hit donate. Helps us bring in more guests. Trying to entertain Jim. We've got the big event coming up, so a lot of good stuff happening right now.